Gentlemen, back in the 80s, Sega was a tech giant. They made amazing arcade games, and they had a fair share in console market. Two of the Sega developers, Hiroshi Hamagaki and Tomo Kimura, split off to form Genki. And if you were a video game enjoyer in the 6th generation, this phase was a source of many good game franchises. And one of them, today's subject of the video, was the Tokyo Xtreme Racer franchise. But let's start from the beginning, even before Tokyo Xtreme Racer. Genki in the beginning was releasing a mishmash of game genres trying to fit their niche. The first game that hit off, to say at the least, was Shutoko Battle 94. Now I can't tell you what this game really is, outside of me guessing that it's a drifting game, as it's a Japanese exclusive and I am a smooth brain that does not understand Minecraft enchantment table language. Oh, what the fuck? Additionally, the handling is something to get adjusted to, which in the brief period of me playing it, I have not. Nevertheless, the game was a success to the point where Genki decided to stick to making racing games. In 1995, Tokyo Highway Battle released, and personally it's not that great. This could be me being a zoomer, but the game is just kinda bland, even for its era. I could list all of the issues, but it also has a lot of fundamentals that will be incorporated into the Tokyo Xtreme Racer franchise. Speaking of Tokyo Xtreme Racer, maybe I should talk about that. Tokyo Xtreme Racer released in 1999 on the Sega Dreamcast. For the unaware, the Dreamcast was Sega's offering to compete against PlayStation, and while the PlayStation games could look like this, Sega's games just looked better. I don't know why Genki chose to use the Dreamcast instead of the more popular PlayStation, but I am glad they did that because this game, for the date of release, looks quite amazing. Tokyo Xtreme Racer is a highway battle game and a management sim where you basically get behind the opponent and you do the equivalent of a strobe light attack to get them to notice and race you. Racing is a little bit different compared to all of the Gran Turismos and Need for Speeds, as this game is basically the equivalent of a fighter game. But with cars, you will notice that there is no end goal for a race, but instead there is a health system. Now how it functions is basically that the second place car will have its health gradually drain over time. Additionally, the further away you are from the opponent, the health will drain faster. That is pretty much how every race is done in this franchise, for the most part. Now, winning a race gives you credit points, which scale based on 3 things: rival's prize, health remaining, and the distance of the race. The prize starts off low, and gets progressively more and more high as you progress. Let's talk about the career, or as this franchise calls it, quest mode. You start off as a newcomer to the city, and after you get your first car, which by the way are all unlicensed, but that is understandable as licenses were only really suitable on AAA studio games in the 90s, you'll probably go and tune your car as you might have extra cash. The tuning in this game is pretty in-depth and includes a fair share of visual customization, so you can race out your Civic as much as your heart contents. Additionally, you can also do fine-tuning to improve how the car handles, or how fast the car is. Again, for 1999, this is some neat shit. You might go and take a peek in the rival list, and you will notice that the game has 141 rivals, which is at the least 141 races, not too shabby. You might also just jump straight into racing, and the first thing you'll notice is that the music in this game is straight banger. Seriously, the soundtrack in this game is just top tier Japanese music at play. Race music tracks are quite possibly the most fitting tracks ever placed in a video game. The Lost track and the Options menu track, however, are funny tier shit. After you challenge a racer, you will notice another thing. The handling in this game is not that great. Cars are very very understeery no matter the drive, and the walls are basically pinball slingshots. And so is everything else. Yeah, this is a bit of an issue with this game, however, it can also be used as an advantage. A very legitimate pull. Oh. Alright. Now, completing this game is pretty straightforward. You challenge set amount of racers in a team, ranging from 4 racers up to 8. Then after you beat all of them, the team leader challenges you to the equivalent of 1v1 Rust. Now don't get too cocky, bosses have juiced up cars that can beat the shit out of you on a straight line, cause well, that's how the AI in this game is. However, team leaders give you much more C credit points. After you beat a decent amount of team leaders, you get to fight the 4 divas, which are basically 4 mid-game bosses in this game. The cash flow from them is pretty wild. Once you beat all of the 4 divas, you get an ending. Wait. What do you mean? What do you... Huh? Yeah, I was gonna say, wait a second, what the hell? No, I think, no, you know what? No, I think I know why. I know why. Don't worry. I think there's gonna be one extra rival. I know this game. Yeah, as you can see, the game just baited me into thinking that I completed it. A nice try, bitch. You're not fooling me. The game baits you into thinking that you completed the game, until the end of the cutscene where it tells you that you are a scrub and you should actually finish the game, which, if you are a masochist, you will do. Welcome to part 2 of the game, and the section of the game that I like to categorize as Management Sim. It's time to talk about the AI. The AI in this game is straight bullshit. While early game it doesn't show as much, late game you will learn to hate it, and what the designers at Genki have done. The AI is super fast on straights, but near any corner they tend to overbrake. Now again, early game, it's not that problematic, but when the game becomes challenging, you also see that when slightly ahead of you, the AI tends to brake just conveniently where you are heading to, leaving you with no time to react. Additionally, remember, every hit in this game bounces you back. Yeah, this does get frustrating near the end, and the experience turns into a fair bit of torture. Additionally, when you overtake the opponent and you either crash or its AI rubber band kicks the car into, I don't know, fucking 9th gear, you have to basically try and block them, and to do so, you need to change the camera to the bumper cam, as it's the only camera option with a rear view mirror. You cannot look behind. Anyways, you have to use that mirror to try and block the car that is rushing towards you, and you have to manage shifting focus on the road and the car behind, thus me calling this game a management sim. Additionally, the AI can pull a funny and can rapidly switch lanes, something that the player is physically unable to do, because of course it can. And with that, that's it. Even with these flaws, Tokyo Xtreme Racer was a genuinely enjoyable experience, and if the first game was good, then probably the second game has improved most, if not all, of the issues. And I'm glad to say that a year later, it did improve on almost every aspect. To say that Tokyo Xtreme Racer 2 is an improvement over 1 is an understatement. The game visually blows 1 out of the water. The new details on the map are honestly cool looking. Another thing that is an improvement is the HUD. The map is more zoomed in, the speedometer looks better, and there is an odometer, which will be important soon. This game is yet another game with a banger soundtrack. Additionally, this game does have its own equivalent of Midnight Club 2's Brain 30. Let's start off with the career. First thing you will notice is that the cars are split into 3 classes. C class, with all of the small engine cars like the Medical D car. The B class, which are mostly middle-sized cars that have a decent amount of power. And the A class, top of the line, which holds high-power cars that can be wildly tuned. Additionally, the car roster has been increased drastically, with a ton of variants, and the models themselves are considerably better and higher quality. Additionally, car modification has been overhauled. It is more in-depth, with modifications mattering much more than in the previous game. Body kits are now separate, so you can race your car even better. Granted, you will most likely just stick to the most expensive part, as the best aero parts are the most important, because aero modifications improve handling, and the more expensive parts improve the steering better. Additionally, car tuning matters much more, as you will need to do crazy tuning in this game. Another part of the game that has increased is the rival list. While Tokyo Xtreme Racer had 141 rivals, Tokyo Xtreme Racer 2 upped the count to 325 rivals, which is really a lot considering that just a year before it was half of that. And for the final large improvement, the map is much bigger. You start off on the same part of the map where the entirety of Tokyo Xtreme Racer happened, but after beating a couple of bosses, you unlock more areas of the map, tripling the size of the map after you unlock the final section of the map. Additionally, you can now pick wherever you want to start off the night, which is a neat feature. The racing aspect of the game has also undergone a few changes. Battles are now much more challenging, as the SP system has undergone a small but a crucial change with an addition of a hit penalty. Every time you hit a car or a barrier, you will lose SP. Hitting the opponent results in both of you losing SP, but you losing more SP as you hit the opponent. Do know, this works both ways, so the enemy isn't safe from messing up. The team system, besides the overall increase, has stayed mostly the same. You race team members, and then after beating most of them, the leader spawns. An addition to that is that there are team sub-leaders, which only spawn based on how many racers have you won or lost against, which means that there is a chance, if you didn't meet their requirements, you will not get them in the playthrough. After beating a set of team leaders, zone bosses spawn. Zone bosses are more difficult than team leaders, but beating them grants you better upgrade parts, and quite possibly can unlock a new map section. There are also wanderers which are scattered around the map, which belong to no team and are challengeable as soon as they spawn. They range in difficulty and driving style, so they can either be piss easy or quite possibly the hardest experience you will ever endure. Now, making wanderer spawns, that is another story. There is now a bad name system, which on the top left of the HUD tells you you're given nickname, which is tracked based on your performance against rivals and how you drive, i.e. how fast you go, if you had collisions with cars or walls, and etc. And that's it! That's all of the good stuff that I can say about this game. You see, whilst this game has many improvements, it has two major flaws. First one being that the handling is not good. You know how I said that modifications matter more? Well, yes, they do, but the cars in this game are very understeery. Now, in the first game it wasn't much of an issue, as the walls were pinball levels of funny. And here, however, the walls are basically made out of superglue. Combine that with understeer and oversteer at the same time, the AI that apparently has infinite cornering grip, and the experience will devolve you into hitting a wall, changing to the hood cam to see the rearview mirror, and you hoping to God that you can block the opponent. Acknowledge that with the fact that the difficulty curve is more of a difficulty slope, and you are playing yet another management sim, where you're blocking off the opponent that is way too powerful and can outpace you in a straight line and the corners. If you manage to beat the opponent, you will realize that this game is too stingy when it comes to prices. Most, if not all, of the non-leader or boss opponents give you under 1000 credits, or just slightly more near the end game, and the upgrades are expensive. I don't know if there were some fumblings regarding regions, or if Crave did something because it's Crave, but the price is way too small regarding what you have to do to even complete the game. Second issue is the amount of bullshit when it comes to completing the game. The wonder mechanic is a staple of the franchise, but they are made hard by having absurd requirements to get them to roam on the streets, as well as the games not giving you a single hint on how to get them to spawn. Wanderers, however, are not crucial to completing the game, unless you want to 100% it. This game added requirement for sub-bosses, which again is very stupid. For me, it went from stupid to bad, however, when the game decided to not spawn the middle boss Happy Pirate for the longest time. I genuinely thought I was soft locked, until I joined the TXR Discord server, and I got told that he should have spawned, and if he didn't, I should race a rival again. And after beating a rat member, the boss spawned. That was a genuinely miserable experience. One funny thing is that the final boss spawned way before I beat the main boss, which was incredibly surprising, as usually you need to beat all of the rivals to spawn the said boss. One huge plus that I didn't mention is that after you beat the final boss, you get to start a new game plus, where you keep all of your garage cars, and you get 1,000,000 credits as a reward. Even with that though, the whole game just left a sour taste in my mouth. I'm just glad that the next game, and the game I played before Tokyo Xtreme Racer 2, was just better.
Released for the PlayStation 2 the following year, most people consider this to be basically Tokyo Xtreme Racer 2.5.
You will be fucking executed.
And for the most part, it is. It has the core of the second game, but with improvements that genuinely make it a better experience. To start off, visually, yet again, this is a massive leap over a second game. The sense of speed has been improved drastically to the point where the cars genuinely feel fast. Granted, the cars are fast, but with the sense of speed being that good, you just get a chef's kiss experience. It is up there with the same sense of speed giants, like Need for Speed Pro Street. The car list yet again has been improved a little bit, with some cars being accessible sooner, like the based yellow Evo. Additionally, the tuning has been changed a bit. Whilst the engine and exhaust tuning stayed mostly the same, the drivetrain customization has gotten a bit simpler. Wheels and brakes are unified into one, which is honestly a plus. Oh, and aero, whilst it does matter, it does not matter as much anymore, considering that the handling of this game is just great. Yes, my biggest complaint of the last game has been pretty much fixed, as even though there is understeer when you enter a corner while holding gas, if you simply let go of the gas, you gain extra grip. Now it's not perfect, as the handling is a little bit floatier than 2, however, the extra grip feature is just a massive plus, to the point where the floatiness is something you can simply adjust to. Walls are also not super glue levels of sticky anymore, giving you a little bit of breathing room if you hit the wall, whilst also not being too lenient to discourage wall grinding. The game's rival system has also been streamlined. There are no requirements on beating team sub-leaders. Wanderers, however, are still bullshit. Some requiring you to own certain cars, race on certain days that you have to calculate to get those days they appear, or do some random shit like race a Wanderer at 2 AM, or have X amount of cars or money. You will have to cope with the Wanderers if you want to have the ability to race against the final boss of the game to get the third ending. Yep, the game has 3 endings. And here's where I talk about the story, quote unquote. You're basically a nobody in Tokyo and you progress by fighting rival teams.
Oh my god, am I gonna lose for being silly?
To get the attention of 13 devils. Once you fight them and beat them, you get to fight the Speed King, the fastest, unbeaten driver in Tokyo. Once you beat him, you get the ending. It is basically a slap in the face as the game tells you that there is a new set of rivals and the Zodiac, which consists of another 13 members. And the Zodiacs are no joke. You beat the Zodiacs, you get the second ending, which also tells you that there's someone that you didn't race, and you also realize that you have not beaten all the Wanderers. Thankfully, the game gives you money, a ton of it, so you can go wild. And once you beat all of the Wanderers, it is time for Unknown. And if you completed the game and got to the actual ending, or have seen videos on YouTube, you know what you should expect. For those who do not know, people say that Need for Speed Underground has the most egregious rubber band. Unknown clears Underground. The Zodiacs have 1,000 horsepower beasts of cars. And you might ask yourself, well, I have max upgrades on my 500-mile car, but I don't have 1,000 horsepower on my cars. Well, you see, there is a reason. You only drove 500 miles in your car. Yes, the odometer and the trip meter in Zero have a purpose. The trip meter counts as a cautionary meter, as this game has a mechanic of engine deterioration, same goes for wheels, where the car will lose power and grip over time, or if you hit cars or walls. Going into the garage refreshes the car. Odometer has a large purpose though. You see, this game has secret upgrades in form of level 7 engine, level 8 muffler, and a level 5 body tune. To unlock those, you have to drive for 1860 miles. I'm going to be honest, I cheated when it came to the odometer, because 1800 miles will take you 5 to 12 hours if you constantly drive yourself, or 30 hours if you let the autopilot take the wheel. It doesn't matter though, as the upgrades cost a ton of money, so you will have to grind anyways. Granted, Zero's cash payout is considerably less stingy than 3. The results, however, 1200 horsepower on a Nissan R34 GTR GT500, and even with the monster of a Skyline, the acceleration of Unknown's Devil Z still clears the Skyline. Too bad that the Devil Z is borderline uncontrollable. This is honestly by far the definitive Tokyo Xtreme Racer game, and it would probably be my favorite if it wasn't for the next game.
01 is what I would consider to be the best Tokyo Xtreme Racer game. Released in 2003, Tokyo Xtreme Racer 3 was a complete overhaul of the franchise. And honestly, overhaul is an understatement. Genki basically reworked pretty much every aspect of the game, and mostly improved on it. Let's start off with one aspect they didn't improve. This game was not released in Europe, so for the longest time, and in my case, back in 2005, you had to get a pirated copy of this game alongside a modded version of a PS2 that had no region locking and a TV that had NTSC output. But if you did have all of that, you were pretty much set to experience the most fun Tokyo Xtreme Racer. I genuinely do not know where to start. The quest mode is mostly the same, except the cars have been streamlined into being all in one class, rather than 3 classes like in 0 and 2. Additionally, this is the first Tokyo Xtreme Racer game with licensed cars. Now take that as you will, the car selection is huge, but because of some car brands not being into street racing in 2000s, mainly Honda, and a certain company holding rights to one car brand, wink wink Porsche, wink wink EA, that meant that some cars that were in previous games are not in the game. Granted, in case of Porsche, we had Gambala, but Honda was absent. Additionally, the traffic was, well, it is purely consisted of Genki high aces. To get back to cars though, the tuning is still great. Cars might be licensed, but body kits are still plentiful, and the flexibility of what the game allows you to do is pretty great. Body parts also can matter a lot, as there is an option to pay for urethane parts for your car, which do make the car a little bit lighter for a cheaper price, or an option for carbon, which does cost a decent bit, but is also super light and can really drastically reduce your weight of your car. Performance tuning has also been improved. First change from 0 is that every time you do get an upgrade, the next level upgrade will cost much less. The tires have been simplified. You have high durability hard tires, which are honestly kinda useless, and soft tires, which are go-to tires for great grip on dry nights. Yes, I said dry, as there is now a weather system. I usually skip those days though, as rainy and snowy days just give too little grip no matter what tires I pick. Granted, a lack of grip is a general thing in this game. The engine tuning is huge. You have regular stuff, engine upgrade, and the exhaust, which is unchanged from the last 2 games. The cooling, which now matters a lot, and engine swaps. Engine swaps, just like the high-level parts in 0, are yet again odometer locked. This time it's for 1242 miles, which is still a lot, but less than 0. Engine swapping suits is an actually great early game upgrade, as the power you get from swaps are much higher than all of the upgrades in the early game combined. Yes, you might not be able to upgrade the swaps, but realistically, regular engine upgrades won't match the power until much later down the line. There are 2 aspiration modes, naturally aspirated or turbocharged. NA is completely useless, purely because of one simple mechanic, so go with the turbo. There are also multiple different engine types, ranging from straight engines to V-styled engines, to flat engines, and even yes, rotaries, which are only good in the RX-7. Each have their own pros and cons, some have more power, and some give better torque while also being lighter. With all that engine tuning talk, let's go racing! The first thing you will immediately notice is that the maps have tripled. Tokyo was big, but Genki added 2 more expressways, Nagoya and Osaka Expressway. And whilst the beginning of the game has only a small section of the 3 maps, after you beat final bosses in all of the sections, the game opens up. And you get to really stretch your car's legs, as all of the unlocked areas are long stretches of roads. Speaking of cars, the battle system has mostly stayed the same. The SP system has undergone a little change where there is a dead zone, where the races are close to each other, the health will really slowly drain on both cars. There is one more addition though, a bit larger one. Racing certain rivals and draining their health till a certain point will result in another rival teammate joining the battle. These battles can become very intense, especially as your health does not replenish. Additionally, and especially on some bosses, you don't just win battles by beating one boss, you get to engage with a few more extra bosses, turning the races into more or less marathons. And with marathons, the bosses get harder and faster, to the point where they will outpace you in the beginning. You don't have to worry though, as if you have a turbo engine and you tuned the boost to the max, you have a nifty mechanic known as the overboost. Overboost is a mechanic where if you press the select button on the controller, your car gets extra boost, making your car considerably faster. The boss events mostly require overboost to beat all of them. The only problem? Overboost cooks your engine. Notice the temperature gauges? Well, those matter. The more you race, the more hot the engine becomes. Let's talk about simple physics. Water boils at 100 degrees, and oil burns at 110. In this game, the closer you are to the critical temperature, the slower your car becomes. And if you go above the limit, the car starts slowing down rapidly, and the engine heats up rapidly, resulting in you being forced to go to the garage to refresh the car. In fact, again on stream, I had one of the most clutch moments in a boss race with an overheating engine. You're not gonna win. Wow, bouncing off the fucking heights did jack shit. It actually fucked me over. Nice. And now... Hell. But I can beat him. Okay, maybe I speed up a little bit. Thank you, the knight. Oh, he's... No, he's behind. He's very much behind. Let's... Taken to high here, bitch. He got hit. Okay. He hit something. He hit something. He's lower health than me right now, chat. I might do that, actually. Fuck it, we cooking the engine a little bit with this one. Because now the engine deterioration might start. Eat shit! No! I'm not gonna let you pass, actually. I know a certain part where he will lose. My car just gotta handle itself till there. I think. Absolute cinema. You can overboost on NA cars if you hold select while selecting transmission, which is also cool. Speaking of bosses, this game personally has the best looking bosses in the franchise. I know Zero had some bangers, but 3 blows them out of the water. If not by car liveries alone, it's definitely by the presentation. From the special introductions to cars literally having some sort of aura, or in the Bishop and Knight's case, lightning sparking around the car, or in Dejected Angel's case, the game's atmosphere completely changing after reaching a certain speed. The bosses have been made really well, and I personally believe no other game can reach how 3 did bosses. Not all is perfect though. The handling in this game is really interesting. The cars are definitely more heavier feeling than the last games, but the end result is that the cars are also too slide heavy. I honestly feel like it's a rather large downgrade compared to Zero's handling, and whilst you can adjust to the handling, the cars still manage to oversteer, and on rear wheel drive cars, you simply can't do jack shit. The car will spin out. Driving on rain in general in this game is horrible. Just honestly skip it. The cars are undrivable. Music in this game is interesting. While the Boss and Wanderer music is honestly quite amazing, other soundtrack is rather a downgrade compared to last few games. The biggest flaw, however, is that originally, on the US retail version of the game, the translation is completely fucked. You see, Crave did all of the translation work for the US version of the game, and the translation itself in cutscene is completely laughable. What is not laughable is the fact that Crave fumbled on the currency conversion from yen to the US dollar by simply slicing the currency 100 times. They converted everything except for 2 Wanderers. Exotic Butterfly requires you to have 20 million credits, which is hard to achieve, but it isn't impossible. Who is impossible to unlock, however, is the Wanderer known as Whirlwind Fanfare, which requires you to have 100 million credits in your account. One big issue is that the credit cap in this game is 10 credits lower than the Wanderer's requirement, thus preventing the game from being fully completed. Thankfully, someone has developed a patch to the game, so if you are emulating this game, you can fix the issue. Granted, the Wanderers are on another level of annoying compared to the last game. While the majority of the Wanderers will spawn, most of them will not race you because of some really bullshit reasons. Some may require you to drive without auto shift, some may even require you to have a certain plate region, which unlike in Zero do not have a translation shown. One even requires you to have the music volume set to max. Then there are Wanderers that require you to have certain requirements to even spawn them. I will mention the most batshit insane one. You have to drive in first gear, redline the car, and honk in a certain part of the map to spawn the Wanderer. That is some psycho behavior. What is also psycho behavior and the biggest sin is that Zero, one of the harder wonders in the last two games, mostly because of the yellow bird he is driving, had such a downfall by driving a Toyota AE82. Now, while I understand that licensing was a problem and Genki was trying to move away from One Gun Midnight, my question is, why didn't Genki use the Gimbala GTR 750, but rather resort to something so weak? And you might say, well Chris, the names between 0 and 3 are different. Third game used the Japanese name in the US version of the game. 0 did not. Nevertheless, this is still by far my favorite of all of the Tokyo Xtreme racers, and it can only go down from here, right? Well, not necessarily. But first, a bit of an intermission. Before we continue though, I'm gonna ask you to give a like on this video. Additionally, I have a Discord, take that as you will. Currently it's a bit barren, but with more people I'll most likely expand it and improve it. Additionally, I do stream. There's a poll on YouTube that you can vote on which will decide what I'll do a marathon on when it comes to streaming, so there's that. In the early 2000s, handheld gaming was on the rise. You had the giants like the Game Boy Advance, the PSP, and the DS. And Tokyo Xtreme Racer games made their way on the GBA and the PSP. First off, there was Tokyo Xtreme Racer Advance, and well... Look, I'm sure this was alright on the GBA, but playing it on a 27-inch screen was a headache-inducing experience. Well yes, the full 3D models are cool, the GBA is not made for that, and the performance shows. I would make a review for the game, but the game is genuinely slow, and I cannot really do so without risking a headache. The PSP game is good though. Supremacy released in 2005, and my god does it feel like a 2005 game. The UI, the music, the vibe itself is really cool. For a game on the portable system, it looks pretty decent. The car list, while much less than on consoles, is still pretty good. The tuning is mostly unchanged from 3, so you get the cool stuff like the cheaper upgrade if you bought a previous one. In addition to performance upgrades is the Nitro system. You see, for better or worse, the overboost system has been removed and replaced by the NOS system. Nitros gives you extra power for a certain amount as long as you hold the NOS button, and it does tend to be really useful, especially if you start off wrong. More on that later. Nitros does not refill until you go to the garage. It is time to talk about the quest mode, which is a major departure from the previous games. You start off by picking a team you'd want to join to. The teams are the same as in the first TXR game. Now you can join any team, and this is where you can fuck up early game. On one end, you can pick somebody that has weak cars, or you can be like me and pick Speedmaster. After you join the team, you need to beat every team member in that team, and you need to beat the leader. Now if you picked somebody on the stronger one-gun side like me, congrats, you fucked up. You will be stuck at trying to beat every racer with a stock Celica. If you do beat the team leader, you become the leader of the team. And this is where the game opens up. First thing you'll see is that there is no free roam. Instead, the map is separated into territories, each being held by a certain team. You can, and what you should do is attack the territories next to your territory to weaken the rival territories underneath 50% to engage into a takeover. Additionally, you can go to territories further away from your territories, and you can be silly and sabotage a team so another team gets to take that territory over. In the enemy territory, you will find rival team members, and you can engage them into a 1v1. And after you beat them, you can recruit them. The best course of action is to go to a curvy road section, find high-level races, chase some victories, and recruit them all. Recruiting high-level racers will result in an easier takeover event. Taking over is a cool new feature where you get up to 4 of your AI racers and you pit them against the rival team. You can watch the race, or you can check the results. One is faster, other is more intense. This is a marathon. If your teammate or yourself win the race, but lose a bit of SP, it does not refill. Winning the event will result in you getting the territory. Losing the enemy's territories gains strength way above 50%. Of course, the goal is to take over all of the territories, and completing the game is pretty quick. It took me 4 hours to complete it all, which for a handheld game is pretty decent. A big plus is that this game has New Game Plus, which means that you can play it as much as you want. With that, we're left with one final Genki game, and this one is quite an interesting case. In 2006, Importuner Challenge released, and this game is really interesting, as personally it feels like a massive improvement over the previous titles, whilst also feeling like a massive downgrade in some honestly bizarre ways. Starting off, I will say that for what is basically a AA team, this game looks stunning. Comparing this game to a AAA title of the time like Need for Speed Carbon, and visually the game is on par, maybe even better looking than Carbon. The graphics and the details, like the cars having a fully detailed interior, is something that most AAA arcade racers of the time did not do, let alone AA. The sense of speed is also improved in the western region. Whilst Shutoko Battle X had good sense of speed, Importuner Challenge added slight camera shake, which adds a sense of danger and improves the feel of you going fast. Wait, did Black Box copy Genki's work in Pro Street? This does however come at a cost, which I will touch upon later. The gameplay loop has mostly stayed the same, with a few changes. The first small change is that the rivals have been completely changed. Whilst there are a decent amount of rivals from the previous games, a good chunk of them has been removed in favor of new rivals. Now the new rivals are alright, but I wish we still had the teams like the Speedmaster. The bosses have also undergone a change. While some of them have been same since Tokyo Xtreme Racer 1, a decent chunk for the early game have been added, and the cutscenes for them are quite possibly some of the best ones they have made. The tuning has mostly stayed the same. There are more licensed body kits, as well as an option for a complete body kit that can change the way the cars look. Nitros makes a return, and to be completely honest, it's not needed as much as in Street Supremacy. One cool detail you can see is when you tune the car, each level of a tune changes how your car looks, like the engine upgrades visually changing and matching what the upgrades are. Interior upgrade is added and is mostly cosmetic. The seats and the steering wheel will change the weight of your car, as custom ones are lighter. Another cool detail is that the gauges are not just there for visuals. If a car does not have gauges to measure booster temperatures, they will not show in the HUD. You have to buy the gauges yourself to be able to see any of the readings on the HUD. Again, the tuning has been slightly improved, but there is a big flaw. In the previous two games I talked about, whenever you get an upgrade, the next upgrade is cheaper. This is not the case in this game. Now I don't know why that is the case, but my suspicion is that the game has been rushed, which might be confirmed in the next few sections. The core racing aspect has stayed the same. You race in Tokyo, and you flash rivals to race them. Nagoya and Saka have been sacked, as well as most of Wangan area of Tokyo. To compensate, Shinkanjo and Shibuya have been added, and as for compensation, I am not too impressed with it. Another impressive aspect is the addition of parking areas. Parking areas have been a staple of drift games that Genki did, where you engage in casual racing against other rivals. In this game, you do the same. However, there are two cool features. First one is the fact that you have a new type of race called Time Attack. Time Attack does not include SP. More so, the main goal is to reach the goal before the rival does. These races can range from being a mile long to almost 10 miles long. It's honestly a breath of fresh air and is quite a cool and welcome feature. Another cool feature is the information section, where you can talk to other rivals that you've beaten for information about other teams, or more importantly, the Wanderers. The Wanderers in the previous games were hell. Seriously, there were a ton of them, and for the most part, they had some completely stupid requirements. This game is much easier when it comes to Wanderers, from the fact that the requirements are not insane, to the fact that people in the parking areas give you hints. The Wanderer names have stayed silly though.
Now this is also in relation Haku-Jin, meaning white man, with Haku meaning white and Jin meaning human.
This game has also improved in the story aspect. Whilst the story is still super simple, there is some depth to it, especially when it comes to Speed King. The backstory is rather tragic and is well explained in the parking areas and from Speed King himself. I will not spoil it though, as the game is genuinely an experience you have to play for yourself. Another great change that this game had is the handling model. You See, I love this game's handling model. It's grippy, it's not slidey like in 3, it's not understeery like in 2. It's like genuinely an amazing handling model. There is still some little bit of tomfoolery when it comes to braking, where your brakes tend to lock up, and even those occurrences are very few and far between, so it's not really a problem, again, compared to the last few games where the handling was not that amazing. Not all is great though, and as much as I have been glazing this game, there are some huge issues with this game. Firstly though, take a look at all of the games that Genki has developed in the 3 years. This is a lot for a team of around 100 peoples, so I am inclined to believe that Importuner Challenge was probably a victim of it being a rushed game and potentially a game with budget cuts. Additionally, after seeing the trailer and just seeing how differently the game looked, which seemed to include fully modeled characters and even more detailed tuning, almost matching Underground 2's tuning, I am certain that the game was rushed. The maps and the tuning has been covered, but there are some more glaring issues. Starting off, the car list has been slightly reduced. You know, a little bit. From Drift 2's record count of almost 200 cars to only 18 cars. Now in Genki's defense, at the time the team was very much overworked. Genki at the time was a dev team that again consisted of around 100 people, and the team was developing multiple games at the same time. Additionally, every car was most likely rebuilt from the ground up to look great with the interior edition. It's just a shame that we could not have more cars. Now if you played the franchise games and watched this video, the music sucks. Genki went from genuine bangers to just whack. The boss cutscene music is an exception. In fact, the boss introduction cutscenes are genuinely the best introductions in the whole franchise. Oh! Here's the cool cutscenes, which I'm like, what the fuck? What in the Persona? What in the Persona 5? Phantom 9, but we saw 6 cars. Oh, never mind. Okay, that looks sick. Okay. Here's my biggest gripe. The game is stupidly easy. The hardest part of this game was me trying to find Wanderers. Well, I don't know what happened in the development section, but I guess Genki thought that Western audience suck at racing. This game had no hard rivals. Unknown was the hardest rival in the game, and even still it was an easier rival than in every other game. And with that, I think this is all I can really say about Importuner Challenge. Personally, I liked the game. A good chunk of people did not, which seemingly caused this game to be the last Tokyo Xtreme Racer game, and also caused Genki Racing Project, the team that was responsible mainly for this franchise, to dissolve, which is quite possibly the saddest way that a company can go out. And this is where this video should have ended. But something happened. In August, Genki released a game on Steam. Devil Road Run is a game of all times. It's a puzzle game where you place blocks so that the main character of the game reaches the goal before the enemies try to kill the character. You can use the blocks to block said enemies. Or are they the good one? I don't know. Frankly, I don't care. And I think neither did Genki. Here's my theory. I, at the time of the release, thought that Genki released this game on Steam purely to test out how releasing games on Steam worked, which got me a little bit excited. Then a new website popped up with the timer counting down, and on the August 22nd, we got this trailer. So it turns out we might eat good soon. Looking at the Steam page, it seems like we are getting at least the Tokyo Xtreme Racer Zero map size-wise, which means that Vangan is so back. Oh, so this is Vangan? Oh shit, so we're getting... Oh shit! We are getting Vangan area. This is classic C1. And... I know this area very well, actually. This is where you crashed the car. I guess we will have to wait and see what the future holds. I am a little bit hyped. But for now, all we can do is wait. And goddammit, wait I will. Thanks for watching. I guess subscribe to the channel, as this is what the content will be mostly again. Yeah, anyways, goodbye.